disabled waiting rooms?
I did.
Okay, fantastic. I think we're just about ready to roll. I wanted to see one more time. Let's try that again. All right. Oh, gosh, I just lost everybody. There we go. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us at our weekly call, Tuesday Notary Titans. Today, Jen Cooper is here helping us as she always does so that the call runs smoothly. But my co-host, Jen Neitzel, is a little under the weather. So she will not be able to join us today. And so thank you all for showing up. We're going to do the regular call. And we do have Matt, who will be giving our legislative update as part of today's call. So how the call works, everybody knows. When you want to ask questions, if you brought us questions, please just raise your virtual hand. You might find it down in the tray, either in the more with the 3 dots, or you might actually have a hand raise feature. It depends on the version of Zoom that you're working with. And let's see, let's start with talking about our Facebook group. Jen, do you want to talk about our Facebook group?
Yeah, TNT has a Facebook group that you guys are all welcome to join. The only thing I want to bring up is so many of you have been going to join and not putting in your email address. So a couple of things: you have to join as you, not as your business. Second, the email address you use to register for TNT is the only email address we're going to allow into the Facebook group. So if you don't put an email address in, you're going to be denied from the group. It's not a personal thing. We're just trying to keep this private as our TNT family only. So please, when you request membership to that group, please use your email and you as a person, not your business.
Thank you very much. Because we would love to see everybody in there. And if you're one of the people like, why haven't I been approved? This could be why. All right, I do have a couple of announcements to make. One is that Jen, myself, and Bill are offering a free training, the next big boom. And that webinar is May 28th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll get that in the chat for you if you want to register for that. And that's really the trust world. That's really what we're going to be talking about. Now, Jen has a workshop. Jen, you want to talk about the workshop you've got going on?
Yeah, this is my second free ChatGPT workshop for notaries. It's a 90-minute session. It is at 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. It's free to register for. You're going to get 100 free ChatGPT links, prompts, and a chance to get the course I created for this at 50% off. So there's still time to register, you guys. Please click the link in the chat and get signed up, and you should get an email confirming your registration and alerts when the call is going to start. So I hope to see you all there.
And just by the way, guys, I took this before when she offered it. I have 0 tech skills. I'm not very friendly with a ChatGPT, but I have to tell you, once she went through these things, it really did change how I was able to be more productive and all of the different things that I'm trying to accomplish. And part of that was the 100 free prompts that I got, because I went through them all and said, oh my God, I didn't know I could ask that. So there were a lot of surprises for me. And so I highly, highly recommend taking it, because you will, it's actual training. It's not like just buy my course. This is actual training you're going to go through. And just even with that training, I was able to do so much more. All right. Yeah, the National Notary Conference is coming up. And yes, they do have a couple seats left. That is June 8th to the 10th. It's Jen Henderson right next to Las Vegas. And we put that in the chat. Jen Neitzel is speaking there. I am speaking there. Judy Lawrence and Bill Soroka are speaking there. There's quite a few people that you might recognize that are going to be there. So if that is something that was you were thinking about it, not too late to get a ticket. All right. And today we are going to have a legislative update. And Matt, where is Matt?
Here I am.
There he is. Okay, Matt, you're on.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about 3 new notary-related laws that have passed in recent weeks, what they mean for notaries, and a little bit of background information on each of them. Let me get my screen in the right mode here. One second. Okay, there we go. Back to Zoom. And that one. There we go. Okay, so first up, we have a new law passed in Arizona. And this bill, according to the sponsor who testified in the committee during he said during the pandemic, title companies began sending out mobile notaries to consumers because they wanted to keep people out of title offices. By using mobile notaries, the title companies could charge consumers an additional fee. And when COVID ended, title companies didn't want to lose that profit center, so they kept using mobile notaries instead of having people come into their title offices to sign documents for free. Now, the chairman of the committee where the bill was heard said, well, thus the bill simply, to use his own words, gives consumers the right to choose their own notary instead of having to accept the notary the title company wants them to use, which is true. But further, a title insurance representative also testified at the hearing and said that the intent of title companies wanting consumers to use their chosen notaries stems from their efforts to combat seller impersonation deed fraud, because criminals often use their own complicit notaries to commit that fraud. Thus, the title insurance industry was trying to protect consumers from having the title of their property stolen. However, the CLIN disagrees with this sentiment due to the fact that the hard evidence shows that the current wave of deed fraud isn't stemming from in-person notarization and is overwhelmingly associated with remote online notarization. However, I still do believe that this is a win for consumers and a win for notaries because it does ensure consumer choice. They can choose their own notary. They don't have to use the notary specifically supplied by the title company, unless the title company has a staff notary that will provide those services to people for free in the office. So while this is a back and forth between the title industry and this one very ambitious lawmaker, which both I think were making comments to support their arguments that we all know as working in the industry are only half arguments. I still think this bill is a win for notaries, and I would like to see a lot more of this across the country. Moving on to Oklahoma Senate Bill 1028, which actually became law without the governor's signature. The governor let this bill sit on his desk until the statutory timeframe expired, and thus the bill became law on its own. It does raise the notary bond from $1,000 to $10,000, raises the bond filing fee from $10 to $25, raises the commission application fee from the initial application fee from $25 to $50, the renewal application fee from $20 to $45, and any applicants requiring same-day service will need to pay an increased fee of $50. Now, while the increases are significant, the truth is the increase in the notary bond, the initial application fee, the renewal fee, they're all long overdue. As in Oklahoma, these fees have been stagnant for literally decades. And I don't know in today's world if a notary has a filing against their bond, $1,000 is going to cover it. So I think the increase to $10,000 is fine. However, the bigger story of Senate Bill 1028 is the new requirement for all notary applicants in Oklahoma, both new and renewing, to take and pass a background screening. While most states, the majority of states do not have a background screening requirement, the number of states choosing to implement this requirement has increased in recent years as notaries involved in fraud related to notarial acts and commission applicants with criminal histories have become more and more of an issue. I do believe we will see more and more states implement these types of checks and balances to ensure that the notarial system is as reliable and robust as we all believe it is. And then finally, in Tennessee, Senate Bill 1051, believe it or not, when Tennessee passed their initial remote online notarization bill, they did not have an education requirement in that bill. So Tennessee now takes a significant step forward in ensuring that applicants for online notary commissions are prepared to perform online notarial acts, and the public is protected from those who perform them by requiring online notaries to complete a course of instruction and pass an examination. Way to go, Tennessee, because this also helps to further professionalize the business, folks. I know initially it seems like a pain at the surface, but honestly, this will help to weed out those who are not serious in the business and make room for those of us who are serious in the business. So the CLIN is very pleased that the course must not just cover online notary laws and technology procedures, but also ethical requirements as well. Matters such as the length and the mode of delivery of the course, the type and number of examination questions, and the examination passing score are unaddressed by the law, so the Secretary of State's office will have to promulgate those rules for the remainder of this year. And private course vendors will deliver the course and examination, which must be approved by the SOS office. So the CLIN expects more details on the course and exam to follow in the weeks ahead of January 1, and we will certainly be here to report our findings. That is all of the new laws in recent weeks that have been enacted that I felt were worthy of talking about. Folks, again, check for new law updates on our website, calnotaries.org/law up alerts. We try to post those as laws are passed or signed. Share this information with your notary network. This is how we build more confident and competent notaries, as my colleague Laura Viewer says all the time. The more information we can get out, the more informed everyone is, and the more reliable of a notarial system that we have. Also, make comments on these bills if you know they're coming up, either support or in opposition. And you can find your state reps on myreps.dataMadeUS. Great site for finding all of your personal representatives. But keep in mind, when it comes to notary business, this is a state level issue. Call or write them, email them. Tell them whether you are opposed or support and why. And if you're opposed, offer solutions. Don't just complain, because that will certainly get your email or letter ignored. And if you have time or you're ambitious, set up a district, a meeting in your representatives or your senators or both local district offices to make your voice heard. That is today's legislative update. I'll be available for the rest of the call for questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's always, I just love seeing the progress that's being made to professionalize the office of the notary and to protect notaries and how that works with protecting the public. So thanks for sharing that with us.
You bet.
Okay. So I'm going to remind people so that they can start getting their hands in the air, their virtual hands, to bring questions to the call that we can address for you. And they can be marketing questions, they can be technical questions, they can be networking questions, whatever it is that you happen to have for us today. We would love to hear about it. And you just need to put your virtual hand up. Either that's the 3 dots for the more, or you might have actually the hand raise function just right in your tray. In the meantime, while you are getting these hands in the air, I just want to remind you the different ways that you can work with me outside of this call. One of them is Laura's Inner Circle, and Laura's Inner Circle is Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. and Matt is my co-host on that. And we take questions like we do in this call, but we start it a little differently with something that centers us and gives us some thought about how to see the world that we're working in. And then we go deeper into those answers. And it's free. Just got to go to my website to sign up. The other one is if you just have a personal one question that you want one-on-one to discuss with me, you don't want to be in a group, then just book an appointment on my calendar. And you can do that. And the link will be in the chat for Calendly as well. I put out a blog.
Can I give you that? You were gonna, I was gonna say, don't miss the blog. I want people to know about your blog. So I was gonna.
So the next on my list is I put out a blog once or twice a month, and I just put one out today. Every time it's different. You can go to my website /blogs, and you can see all the ones that I've written. Today's was about the power of language. If you want to have a little mindset, a lot of mine are more mindset oriented, then that's for you. Finally, I do training actually through a book, Beyond Loan Signings, through California real world training. So that's for the state of California specifically, and that's based on taking the laws a little deeper and talking about when the law doesn't address the situation. And then finally, Laura Bewer Presents, and that's for specialty work. All right, so now that's all the different ways that you might be able to interact with me outside of Tuesday Notary Titans. And I have a couple calls, a couple hands up, so we're going to get started with that. And Rob, your hand is the first one up.
Awesome. First, I want to start with just a couple of shout outs before I get to my question. One would actually be to you, Laura. I went to your coaching or your Coach Me Laura session or whatever on Saturday for the first time. It was awesome. And I made another connection there. And I was actually with a local notary. I'm building a local notary network here. He kind of ignored me, but I bumped into him this morning and I was like, were you the guy Phil and Laura's thing? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, and so we totally connected that way. So it was great little way to connect that way. Which also ties to Jen Cooper and your course and encouraging us to build up local notary networks.
Yeah.
Which then ties to Jen Neitzel's course, and nobody is paying me. I want to put that out there, by the way. No affiliation, no affiliate links, anything going on here. But you know, I also take Jen Neitzel's Marketing for Notaries full course. And I did her elevator speech course or whatever, and I still get so many compliments. And today I said it again, and this woman came up to me right after. She's like, "Oh my gosh, your 30 seconds was so fantastic. I got exactly what you do. And I need you." Literally said to me, "Give me all of your cards. I work with elderly patients in assisted living facilities." And she's like, "I need to connect you with them. I need to connect you with estate planning attorneys, everything." And that was all from Jen Neitzel's course, the Marketing for Notaries course. So I just need to say thank you to all of you and give you all some shout outs there. So,
well, thank you. And that's always good to hear. And what I also hope everybody hears is that you can't get everything from one person, right? So he has gone to my other call. He has done Jen's 5-step marketing program. He has gone to Jen's course. He has reached out to different resources. And that is really how you get the best for yourself, is that you don't just say, well, only this person and only what they say. You really need, it does take a village, right, to get all the pieces to put them together. So thanks for sharing that, Rob. Really appreciate it.
I do have a question. I do want to say hi to Diane as well, who I've networked with through TNT as well. So all of this, you're absolutely right. It's all of these pieces make all of the world go around. But my quick question is, I swear I wrote this down somewhere and I've lost it. When I'm looking on SnapDocs, commonly I see refi first only. And it never says in the details if that's a cash out refi or not. And I need to know that in Texas. And I wrote it down somewhere and now I can't find my little notes or whatever. Is that a cash out refi? Because that impacts my, renting a title company or attorney's office or something like that. So do we know?
I don't know, because I don't work for SnapDocs. I work directly with title companies, and I'm not in Texas where that's an issue.
Right.
I don't know if anybody on this call, Diana's in Texas. Diana, do you know anything about that connection with SnapDocs and how to recognize it? Okay, Diana's
awesome, Diana, because I was going to text you after, but here you are. So awesome.
Well, she'll share for everybody to hear.
Yeah.
Right?
So on SnapDocs, what they will typically do 99% of the time, they will actually say A6 cash out, or they'll say home equity, and it'll if you go to accept it, it'll tell you that your responsibility is to book a law firm, the lender, or a title company for a room, unless it's like out of state or it's been waived, they got paper, they'll tell you.
Okay.
So if you see refi, a refi is a refi, but if it says equity or A6 cash out, A6 cash out's the most common term I see.
Okay, so refi first only is not a cash out then.
Mm-mm.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Diana, for sharing. Helped other people. We do have a lot of Texas people on the call. All right, Nathaniel. Go ahead and unmute. Give him a second in case he's on his phone. I did a Zoom call this morning on my phone. It's a pain. All right, Nathaniel, I'll come back to you. Maybe you're on a call or you just can't figure out how to unmute, but I will come back to you. There we go. So in the meantime, Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi. Back to the SnapDocs. Who was the person that was just talking about SnapDocs from Texas?
Rob. And then Diana gave us an explanation.
I had a question for her about SnapDocs.
Well,
Is it the same
Go
for
ahead.
California here in SnapDocs?
We don't have that rule in California. We don't have to rent a room when we do it and if the loan was a cash out.
Okay, I was just wondering on that.
Yeah, no, that is
Snap.
Texas, not us.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I was just wondering about.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go back to Nathaniel. I see you're with us now.
Okay.
There we go.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me cut up it says turn up the volume. I would like for you all to do more of that positive training. I went to the state of Kentucky where you all told us to go and look. You know, it's sort of like just give a little overview, a little sentence thing. I just want to know, how do you verify everybody? How do you, just the steps and what we're gonna do? Is there a course or something I can do? Like I said, the state of Kentucky, it just, you can do it, but they don't give much instructions, if y'all understand what I'm talking about.
So did you start with your Secretary of State office in Kentucky?
Yes, I did. It's like I said, it's just very vague. Very
right. So they have a handbook and you're saying the handbook is not helpful?
Right. I'll go back and look again. Maybe I wasn't, I'm sorry. I get on. Okay. There we go. Somebody sent it to me. This says, okay.
That's a book, my friend.
No, that's not Secretary of State.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
No, that's about apostille work. Just notary work. You're going to be a new notary in the state of Kentucky.
Right. No, I am a notary.
Okay,
I am a
in
notary.
the state of Kentucky.
In the state of Kentucky. And I wanted to learn more because I live outside of Fort Knox. And, I attended one of you all's meeting and you said that it was a very important thing that we should learn how to do. And, I'm sort of a little, and you all did direct me to the state of Kentucky, and I typed in it, and like I said, it was just very vague itself. It's like, what is the process? How do I verify everybody when I'm doing this? And
so are you saying, how do I identify when you say verify? I'm just trying to understand.
Exactly, like with their IDs, it's not like I'm actually there and I can touch the ID and look at it and things like that,
because you're talking about remote.
Yes.
Yeah. So see how I'm having to pull out all this information out of you. It's really hard to answer a question.
I'm sorry.
When you're not giving me all the details. So now we're talking remote, which of course we don't even do in California. And you were wanting to know how to perform the the identification process during a remote call. Is that remote
Exactly
online?
that. Yes, yes, yes. Like I
Okay,
said, I live outside of Fort Knox, and everything. You got soldiers coming in with wives and all the different things that are going on. I just want to make sure that I'm on top of everything, because I do know that I have to have I have to have a translated birth certificate. You get what I'm talking about, to verify everything. Yes, that's part of the things that like the wife comes over and she has a birth certificate from her consulate, and that I
okay.
have to verify that all that information too.
Well, okay, hold on. So now it sounds like you're asking specifically about a particular kind of transaction where they give you a birth certificate from a consulate.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
your job, because our job is not to verify the information in the birth certificate.
Right, right.
Well, are you acting as an immigration agent?
No, not as an immigration, just like I'm acting as a notary, verifying that this is a true copy of that birth certificate.
Okay, so now we're finally getting to it. It's just taking time here.
I'm
So
sorry.
you're talking about, you get this, and are you making the copy? Or did they bring you a copy?
They're bringing me a copy.
Okay, and now in your state in Kentucky, let's just find out. Do you have a notarial act called copy certification?
Here, let me write that down. I cannot answer that. I will look that up.
Matt, are you looking?
Yeah, so okay, so in Kentucky, it's the same rule for most states. You cannot make a certified copy of a vital records, including marriage, divorce, birth certificates, domestic or foreign. Your state statute actually says domestic or foreign. So you should not be doing that.
Oh, I'm not. That's why I'm asking these questions. I'm trying to figure out I live like I said, I live outside of Fort Knox, Kentucky, and it's part of the county that I live in. And I do get a lot of marriage, you know what I'm saying? They marry a
So you're
form.
getting vital records like marriage and birth certificates.
Exactly.
And what are they asking you to do with them?
Is basically to certify those that those
Okay.
are true.
And if your state has a law that says you're not allowed to certify copies of vital records like birth and marriage certificates, then you're not going to be able to perform those.
Okay.
Now, there
No.
may be, she may have to get another one from the consulate. I'm just trying to think of other ways to work around that. I know there's the document custodian, but we don't recommend that you do that with vital records. Because
Got
the actual copy would be another certified copy from the consulate, right? From wherever she got it, from the issuing agency. So as a notary, I can't think of one state that says it's okay when it comes to vital records.
There is
Vital
one.
records, we're not supposed to mess with any of those. They have to go to the agency to get the copy. Now, if they bring you a copy of something else that's not a vital record, and you have copy certification as an act, Matt, did you happen to see if they have a copy certification? As an act, notarial act, then you would need the original. And then depending on what your law says, whether you have to make the copy or they can just bring you the copy, you have to look at to see what the law says for that act, the requirements. Because in some states, the notary is required to make the copy. So I'm not looking at your handbook. I don't know those details right off the top of my head. But that's what you need to know. And then you could perform that act if you have it. And if it's not restricted like it is here for California notaries, then you could perform that act for them, but except for vital records. Now, if you don't have that act, you cannot perform copy certification in the state of Kentucky. There's another way you could help them, and that is they certify it. And we call it by document custodian. They're the custodian of the document. They bring you the copy and they say they have a statement of some kind that they create. that says, this is a copy of my driver's license, my whatever it is. And then you would be notarizing their signature to the statement using an acknowledgement
go.
or a jurat or something like that. And of
That-
course, they need to make the statement, they need to choose the notarial act that you would use to certify their signature. But then at that point, you're not certifying a copy, you're certifying their signature like you would on any document that somebody signed and they asked for a notarization.
Thank you.
Did you happen to find if they
I
have
did.
that?
Yes, Kentucky allows copy certification as an
There you go.
official act. The notary can certify the copy of a tangible document other than vital records is a true copy. They can also certify tangible copies of an electronic record is a true copy of the electronic record. So yes, you can make certified copies of documents other than vital records. And that includes both foreign and domestic, because your code is very specific.
And so your best thing then, when it's a vital record, is to refer them back to the issuing agency or the consulate where they got it.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
okay.
I just want to make a comment on vital records before we move
Yeah.
forward, which I find that nobody seems to know, but 99% of the time, the vital record you have in your hands, birth, marriage, death, certificate, whatever it is, if you go down to the bottom where the public official has signed and stamped, there's a statement that says, this is a certified copy of the original record held by my office. So
Right.
you can't make a copy of a copy, in other words, right?
Nathaniel, you're muted, so we can't hear your comment. But that would be true within the United States, any state within the United States. Now, maybe in foreign countries when they come over, maybe they have an original, because I don't know how the foreign countries work. Maybe they have the original document. So that might be a little different. But for anybody born within the United States, that's how it works. They keep the original. All we get is a certified copy. Okay, so that was a great question, Nathaniel. So now you know what your boundaries are. And I think that's what, when you hear me talk about this, it's important to know what my boundaries are. That's what, and you just engaged in what I call deliberate practice. I don't know this. I need another resource. I need to understand it better so that I stay within the boundaries of what I'm allowed to do. So thank you for asking that. Okay,
Who's next?
well, I can't see. Jennifer's up in the top corner, but Jennifer, do you have a hand up and I don't see it?
Oh, Rob has his hand up.
Rob has his hand up. Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
You're on mute.
You are on mute, Rob. I hope we're missing so much great information coming from you.
I don't know about that, but sorry. Matt, you just mentioned something to Nathaniel that for personal experience even jumped out at me, but you asked him if he was acting as an immigration agent, and I have never heard anything about that before. Are you able to briefly just tell me what that is, please?
Sure, there are a handful of states that have provisions that allow, well, not only notaries, but a person to apply to become what is known as an immigration agent or immigration consultant, which helps a migrant fill out paperwork, documents, and can also, if they are notary, notarize their signature on those documents as well. In California, it is a very specific program. You have to be registered. You have to be bonded. The bond is $100,000. So you'd have to fill out a lot of immigration forms to cover that bond amount. And so therefore it used to be very popular about 25 years ago, but it has since become less and less popular. And there are a lot of lawmakers that are really working to legislate against the immigration consultant as well. So it is definitely under attack. Although I do think in certain situations and certain states, particularly coastal states that have a large amount of, and border states that have a high amount of immigration, where an immigration consultant is still needed because you're talking about the difference between, say, a few $100s versus several $1,000s if you have to go see an attorney. So
Mhm.
we support the immigration consultant program, and will certainly support it as long as it lasts. But as I said, it is under attack right now, and we don't know really what the future of it is.
And
Okay.
there are several states that within notary law, it specifically says it's forbidden. You can't do it at all.
Yeah.
And then there's states that doesn't address it at all. Then there are states like California who say, okay, we'll let you do it from here to here. So it all depends on the state. Always look to see if your handbook addresses it and gives you direction on whether you can do it, and if you can, what are the requirements for it.
Okay.
Okay,
Alright.
it is a high liability profession
Yeah.
because you're preparing their documents. Remember, people who are going through this process, not just now, but now particularly, it's nerve-wracking for them. They may not understand what you're asking them because you're just filling out the blanks, right? Because you're not an attorney, and they may misunderstand you. You make mistakes on these forms, it could end in deportation. So it is significant outcome if you
Sure.
don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, and I think I've actually done it twice now, and once for my wife for her original green card, and then all not knowing I was doing this, and I can say it was rather stressful on, you know, on a personal level and or like in a professional type level, but also on my marriage going through that. So
Right, and I mean, if you do it for a spouse, it's not a
That's
big deal, because that's not professional, you're not charging her. It's when
No,
we
yeah.
put ourselves out for hire
Yeah.
to do this kind of work that it becomes a concern.
you don't know my wife.
Okay,
Thanks, Rob.
thank you. Okay, Jennifer, I see your hand this time. Oh, but you're still muted.
Okay,
Okay,
There you go.
Jennifer from Monterey. Two quick questions. Number one, is there any indication through any Secretary of State office that they'll be changing requirements to use real ID?
Mhm. No.
I've not heard anything that it's got to be the ID that's on the list, and right now, our list does not say real ID, it's just California driver's license or non-drivers.
Right. I actually have quite a few clients inquiring about that because we've come up against that deadline, and I've been
Right.
telling them no, but I just didn't know if there have been any whispers about that. Okay,
Mhm.
that's great.
Okay.
And next is a little strange. I would like to know if there is any type of notarial repository for infrequently seen documents or procedures, if anyone knows of that type of service or thing.
I don't think there's one. No, I don't think so. I do know that the NNA does collect as people send them documents to say, what the heck is this? How do I deal with it? And then, of course, they have created, because I'm able to access it as an employee of the NNA, and that's where I can find some really interesting things. But there is not a formal one. And I think part of that is where, we get our direction from Secretary of State and from the law book there, but they're not interested in documents. They only address certificates in the act. So we're not going to be able to get it from there. I have my own repository. I have created as people have sent me documents. So those are the only two places. And as a notary, when you have an opportunity to see something that this is a little crazy, this would be a good thing. Like sometimes I've seen them posted on Facebook, is to make your own collection so that you have your own thing to look at. I probably have about 100 different documents that I've collected over the 20 years, but that's just my personal collection. It's not one that, is out there for people to look at.
That's good to know. I actually have a collection from the last 6 years that I share with other notaries in my area who asked me.
Yeah.
And I was just unable to find any repository as such and didn't know if you had an insight, but thank you.
You're welcome. And I do use mine for training purposes. So that's what I use mine for. All right. But it was a great question. Brian, you're back.
I had one quick question about acknowledgements for using out-of-state acknowledgements. I can go rewatch the training video from the NNA about that. I know we can use out-of-state acknowledgements, but do you have a list on your website or in your training videos about what states are not allowed to be acknowledgements not allowed to be used in California?
So, yes, actually, it is in my real world training, but it's small enough that I could address it right here. So we're talking about California specifically. So everybody who's not California, this is not to you. In California, we are not able to certify representative capacity. And in most states, they allow the title to drop into the certificate they're filling out. We cannot do that. So the acknowledgement rule for California is if the document's staying in California, you must use the California formatted mandated language because it comes right out of our code. All right.
Okay.
Now, when can I use any other? The other 49 states, I can use it if it has the word acknowledged in it. So I know it's an acknowledgement and it does not contain representative capacity or title. Those are, and it's going back to the state it came from, right? So it's going out of state. It has the word acknowledgement in it. And it does not contain a person's representative capacity or title. That's it. So that means I could use an acknowledgement out of 49 other states as long as they did not include the representative capacity or title.
Yeah, because the other day I had a loan signing, not a loan signing, but something for a general warranty that was going to get recorded out of state. I seen capacity and then CEO, someone's title, certifying someone's title. I was like, I'm not sure if I could do that. I was thinking attaching a California acknowledgement to it, but when I texted them back, they told me he was going to get recorded out of state. I couldn't put a California acknowledgement to it. So I turned them down.
Yeah, and of course, if it breaks the law here in California, I don't care what they say, we're going to attach our own California acknowledgement. Now, they could have provided you another one without the title. That would be if they insisted that we use that certificate. You could have used an NNA style certificate. There's other ones like that that have an optional section at the bottom where it says the signer claimed that they were the CEO or they were whatever. So there's a place to put representative capacity. I'm not certifying it. The signer said that it was truthful. And that's another way we can get around it if it's so important that that title be somewhere on that certificate.
Okay. Because that's why I wanted to double check before I did it. And I emailed them back and said there was no California acknowledgement wording. And they were like, it still could be done, but it's going to be recorded out of state. I was like, it didn't have anything
Yeah,
on.
so that's your clue, Brian. When they said it's going to be recorded out of state, now you don't have to have the California format, but you still have to worry about representative capacity. And if that was the issue, then that's what you should have told them. Look, we don't have the authority to certify representative capacity in our state. The rule applies because I'm in California. There's nothing wrong with your wording other than that. Can you take it out, or would it be acceptable for it be in an optional section where the signer certifies they have that?
Okay.
All right. Now, let's just take that a step farther. And the step farther is, what if the certificate is worded in such a way that it's not asking me to certify representative capacity? And in out-of-state ones, I see this. So you have to be careful. Just because you saw the title isn't an automatic no-go, because it might say Joe Signer, who swore that he was the CEO, or Joe Signer, who was named in the document as the CEO, or Joe Signer, who signed his name as CEO. Because then that grammar, that wording indicates I didn't say he was the CEO. This guy did under oath, or this guy was described that way, or this guy signed it that way. Brian, do you see how that can kind of get in the way? So if they were saying, hey, you can use out-of-state acknowledgement wording and we're not asking you to certify his title. That's when you might want to call the NNA and read it to them so that they can help you decipher if you're certifying the title or somebody else is. And they don't teach that in the 6-hour class. It's too hard. We can't teach it to the masses. We can do it in small groups. We can do it to one person. We can do it with the specific wording. But I just want you to know that it is possible for an out-of-state acknowledgement to have representative capacity somewhere in it without asking the notary to make that certification.
Okay, because
It's a case by case basis, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Also, they have a disclaimer box on there at the very top.
Good.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
You're
I'm gonna double
welcome.
check.
All right. All right. And how do you say your first name?
Denise,
Denise, because I just see neat.
because that's how the Zoom has it as
Okay.
my email
So
address.
Denise, what state are you in?
California.
All right. Beautiful. Bring it on.
And that's what he said sparked the question for me, because when I get loan packages, in there they have the pre-printed certificates with the person's names. But sometimes they also put in there Joe Signer as trustee for who's ever, the trust entitled, we already spent it, trust. Now that to me, in my mind, is they're certifying a sort of capacity.
Well, yeah, they're not representing somebody else, but yes, they are adding a capacity. And our laws say not only representative capacity, but any other certifications we're not authorized to make.
Exactly. So
that would be like Laura B. were resident of Modesto, California. Nope, I can't certify that somebody's a resident, right? I'm not representing somebody else. Laura B. were spouse. I'm not representing anybody else, but I'm making a certification about me, and we're not allowed to do that either.
So any certificate that comes in the package with that trust verbiage in it, we can't use it, correct?
In it, yeah, well, they can be described that way, they can sign it that way, but in the certificate, if they just put Joe Signer, trustee of the blah, blah, blah trust, no, I wouldn't fill that, I wouldn't use that.
Thank you.
And that could be California wording or somebody else's wording, doesn't matter. I even get California certificates where they do that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep,
exactly.
The rule applies to California certificates as well.
Exactly. That's where I was trying to go, because they pre-print them to have the little box at the top, and then they do the wording in the certificate. But then it's also, like you just said, they're certifying a capacity of that signer as the trustee for that trust. And that's certifying capacity, and we can't do that, right?
That's right. We can't do that.
So going forward, they get a loose certificate without all that wording on it.
Yeah. Matt, were you going to add?
Yeah, I wish that the title companies and attorneys would actually read what's in the disclaimer box, because it clearly states that we do not certify anything other than the identity of the person and that they appear before us.
Right.
So you're right on. You can replace that. And one other comment I want to add to this whole conversation about out-of-state certificates and pre-printed certificates and all that is, don't ever let anyone convince you that you can't replace with your own state-specific certificate, because all 50 states have reciprocity laws that say we must accept this certificate so long as the notarization was performed under the law of the state where it came from. So, don't let someone tell you can't do it.
Okay. Thank you.
So. Okay, well, we have maybe 10 minutes left. And I see Carla has put her hand up.
I do. Carla? I just want to add something to the conversation, since I've been gotten quite a bit of out-of-state notary certificates. What I normally do too on the space, on the out-of-state certificate, I put in C California acknowledgement. So then they know that I did not bypass their form, or C California jurat, then put in my own California acknowledgement and California jurat, just notifying them that I saw it, but I'm replacing it.
And you know what? That's going to spark a little piggyback for me. Because some notaries get confused. They're like, I don't want to deal with this. If it's not my wording, I'm going to put see attached, and I'm going to just put my own. And what I'm going to tell you is, if it had been worded correctly for, now I'm talking about an out-of-state acknowledgement, if they had done what I described and they worded it correctly, so I wasn't certifying that, so they knew it was acceptable for me to use, they could reject it and say, why didn't you use my certificate? I made it work for your state, and yet you rejected it anyway. So I just want people to know, I do not think that it's a good idea or practice to just forget about out-of-state acknowledgements and just always attach California acknowledgement to be on the safe side. It's not the safe side. When I was a new notary, it happened to me. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to send them my California one. And they called me. It was a bank. I think it was Arizona. And they said, hey, there was nothing wrong with that certificate. We want that certificate used. And I had to do it again. Now, fortunately, I was able to do it again, but sometimes that's not the case. You know, I just had a notary where the people were back in Florida and she's still in California. And now she's got to find a notary in Florida to redo those documents, and she's going to have to pay for it. So, yes, see attached is a great idea so that when you are attaching, they see that. And I use the signature line for that of my certificate, because it disables the certificate. I don't have to put a strike through it. So that's why I use that space. And that would be the appropriate way to do it. Just don't do it as automatic. We need to be thinking through what we're doing. I'm going to bring up this issue because it fits right here. So it was trust work, and the documents were created in Florida because they live in Florida, but they come to California. And in any case, the attorney that prepared them was in Florida. There was nothing really wrong with the wording. It didn't look exactly like ours. Florida's not too far from us, but it did. She decided to attach instead of using it. And when she did not read all the lines in the certificate, and the lines in the certificate after the signer's name, which they pre-printed, then they said, and the witnesses, comma. So this was the last will. The person signed it, and then they were going to have it acknowledged. And they wanted it acknowledged by all three people. But she didn't happen to catch that. And our certificates, I mean, you just write names in, right? So she didn't notice it. So she did not notarize the witnesses' signatures in addition to the testator or the principal. And so and she goes, well, we don't normally do it this way. I said, but you need to read the certificate language, all of it, particularly when it's not ours, because there may be information in there that's asking you to do something. And in this case, it wanted you to include the witnesses. You're just going to take the acknowledgement of all three. I'm used to doing a jurat that way, but hey, they want an acknowledgement. That's fine with me. And actually, I was, that didn't have a certificate. That one actually didn't have a certificate. The other one did, what I just described. But the last will didn't have one. She was going to have to add. And when she talked to the attorney about the out-of-state certificates, the attorney said, oh, don't worry about it. Just add your own California ones. That's fine. Add your own California acknowledgements. So that's what she did without reading the certificate, and left off the witness names. So
yeah, I go over it, but I also make sure that even those California wordings, but if I see an A before the notary, I don't use it. So I attach my own certificate.
Yeah, that's another issue, separate issue. But the issue that I'm trying to address is that other states are going to word their acknowledgements differently, and they might put in there other information, and that either that other information is something you can't do, or it's just, hey, and I want these people being acknowledged as well. And if you don't read the certificate language, because all of that is your instruction. And if you just kind of skim through it and think, okay, this is an acknowledgement, I know what I'm doing, you might miss that instruction. So it's really important when you're going to change out somebody's certificate that you look to see all the things you were supposed to do. Okay. Well, there was 4 or 5 questions on the same topic there.
Thank
That was
you.
a great deep discussion. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. But we still have, it's 1:11. Now I am happy to wrap it up earlier than later. However, if you still have a last minute question and you did not raise your hand and you would like to right now, then please feel free to do so. I didn't even look, 60, we got 60 people still on here. Okay,
Good
well,
questions today.
yeah, there were great, thoughtful questions that helped lead into other discussions. So that was fantastic. And what we did today was what I call deliberate practice, trying to understand it better, trying to expand what we already know. And when one person asks the question, they do the heavy lifting and the rest of us get the benefit of learning. So one, thank you for joining us. Oh, Paula put up her hand.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just have something that I did this week. It surprised me because we went to Staples and I'm thinking, okay, just go ahead and ask them if they would take my business card for a notary. She said, hey, did anybody ever ask for a notary around here? 'Cause I'm just like, probably not, right? And she says, oh, no, seriously, everybody, every day, there's somebody asking for a notary. And I said, do you mind if I give you my business cards? Oh, no. And we'll just set them aside, and anybody asks, we'll just give them your card. I was just shocked. I'm like, really? Okay. So that's okay.
Fantastic. And see, it didn't cost you anything to ask.
No. But I was just assuming that don't even bother because they're not going to accept my business cards, but they did. So
They did.
yeah.
Oh, good lesson for everybody else. You just
Mhm.
never know. They might say yes.
So no question today. Thank you.
Okay, but thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
When we sign off today, you guys, there's going to be a survey that Zoom's going to provide. It'd be really helpful for the TNT crew for you to fill that out. It's only going to take you a minute or so because it really helps get us an understanding of what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want. So when they're doing planning sessions, where we are for TNT, we are keeping you in mind because this call is for you, to help serve you, to help support you. So just if you would take a second after the call is done, that would be really
It should
helpful.
just pop up after after we exit the call.
All right.
Okay. It won't pop up until Jen actually stops the call.
Yeah.
That's when it'll pop up. All right. Well, thank you all. Next week, same time, same station, Jen Knight. So we'll be back.
Yep. See you guys later.
Take care. Bye.